Okay, good morning, everyone. Good morning from wherever you're joining from. So, if you're joining us, I would like you to introduce yourself in the comment section where you're joining from, your name and your location, and also your country. Yeah. So, this morning we are having another insightful edition of the Christian Agriculture Incubation Program, and we are going to be dissecting the topic titled Risk Assessment, Human Factor, and Drone Safety Management. If you remember, we mentioned that we are currently in the drone week, and most of the course we are going to be treating this week are centered, or it revolves around drone technology operation. And in this particular training or course, you are going to be learning from our experts the ethics of drone operation, talking about the safety management, but then risk assessment and human factors, how to reduce human factor in order to prevent accidents and air crashes and all. So, before I bring him up on board, I quickly want to reiterate again, just share about Precision Field Academy. Alright, so Precision Field Academy is the organizer of this Precision Agriculture Incubation Program. Okay. Alright, so at Precision Field Academy, we have a vision to create a world where every young person, regardless of their background, has the opportunity to become a digitally savvy farmer or agricultural professional, driving sustainable and equitable growth in their communities through the transformative power of technology. So, and we are on a mission to raise the next gen farmers that are tech inclined and digitally savvy. So, Precision Field Academy is a social enterprise where we train and build the capacity of youths in modern and precision agriculture. So, we have core 3 methodology, and we are doing this through education and knowledge sharing, training and skill development, coaching and mentorship. So we have 6 tech skill in focus that we work with at Precision Field Academy. Number 1 is drone technology. We have GIS and remote sensing. We also have data science in agriculture, robotics and Internet of Things, AI, machine learning, and enterprise development. So what's our motivation? Why are we doing all of this? So we've discovered from our research that there's a skill gap that needs to be closed. So there's a missing link of the technical and enterprise skill knowledge, and youth and young agricultural professionals truly need to build competence in this area for them to remain competitive and be relevant in the world of agriculture, because the industry of agriculture is evolving and it's coming up or presenting new challenges every day, from the aspect of pests to climate to drought. And so how do we maneuver all of these realities if we are not upskilling or upgrading ourselves with the emerging technologies that could help us solve them? So secondly, we note that observing the trend for the youth is not just enough. That, oh wow, agriculture is now doing fine. I learned that there's something called artificial intelligence or machine learning in agriculture. I don't know how it operates, but people mention that artificial intelligence is here and all of that. So we are looking at grooming leaders that will directly be involved. They really want to get enabled, get their hands dirty about this technology and how they can apply it to solve real-time problem in their home community or agrarian environment. So lastly, we've discovered that technology is a very powerful tool. If you know how to leverage it to your advantage, you can change. So technology is the key to unlock African agricultural potential. So why should you join us? We are creating the future we want in agriculture, and also we connect you to the world of information and opportunities that comes in terms of scholarship, internship, volunteership program coming from both local and international perspective for your career growth. We also share skill development, and we are doing this through project collaborations, community interaction, university workshop, symposiums. And lastly, we'll give you access to coaching and mentorship from our global faculty, industry leaders, and professionals around the world through programs like this. So at Precision Field Academy, we are building a community of young tech inclined and digitally savvy farmers and professionals. So we have courses on drone, on AI, data science, and machine learning, and all. So for this edition, we have our partners, and we are saying a very big thank you to our partners once again, because I would like to reiterate or appreciate the fact that they are partnering with us to be able to make this edition possible. Integrated Area Precision, Dev Global, DJ Academy, Dev African, International Society for Precision Agriculture, that's ISPAR, and we also have the AAPA, that's African Association for Precision Agriculture. And we also have these institutions below, Federal University of Agriculture, Abeokuta. We have River State University and Federal University of Technology, Minna, Niger State. All these institutions are in Nigeria, the last institutions I mentioned. And we also have the ones above are international organizations. And I am glad they're partnering with us, and we really need to, commend the fact that they are endorsing this program and giving us a support. So this is the face of our global faculty. We've carefully selected great minds, professionals doing excellently well in their career space to be able to deliver excellently well, tailored trainings and professional courses in this edition for you to be able to, so you have the mindset that you are receiving from the very best. So alright, so we are currently live. I can see that the number of participants here are still low, so do well to invite your colleagues, your contemporaries that you know that this training is going to be useful for, so you don't just benefit it alone, extend it across to them. So alright, so PIP once again, let me quickly talk about this. So it's a youth-centric digital agriculture training aimed at capacity building, helping you to be able to develop technical and enterprise skill on the concept of precision and digital agriculture software. So we recognize the fact that a skill gap needs to be closed, and that's the reason why we have come up with this training to be able to attend to this need. So Precision Agriculture Incubation Program cuts across various technologies from drone to GIS to AI and machine learning. So it's actually aimed to give you the very best the person. So our previous participants in the previous cohort 1 and cohort 2, they've demonstrated competence. Some of them have agri-tech enterprises and they are doing well in their career space, while some also who were able to get informed with the digital skills exposure. It has really shaping their career prospect where they are now, because they are informed about this technology, and they are also decisions, to upskill continually, and that's make them to remain competitive and highly sought after in their career space. So basically we have 7 objectives. Number 1 is to close the knowledge and the skill gap of participants about precision agriculture technologies. Secondly, we want to raise the next generation of agriculture remote pilots who will be leveraging drone technology to be able to shape the future of agriculture and enhance it. Thirdly, we want to groom young precision agriculture leaders and stakeholders for a global exploit. And on the number 4, we are looking at building the capacity of youth in the aspect of technology application in agriculture. 5, we want to promote the adoption of innovative and sustainable farming technologies and improve agricultural productivity and resource management generally. So 5, we're looking at fostering entrepreneurship, education, and encouraging participants to develop technology-driven solutions for agriculture challenges. This is where we're talking about youth becoming an enabler and player. They identify this problem and they are developing solutions that can help address it in a more sustainable way. And lastly on the list of our objective is that we want to create a network of digitally empowered young agricultural professionals who can drive positive change in the agriculture sector. So once you have passed through this program, you are informed, you are exposed to this technology, we are forming a network of professionals that could also rely on the strength of each other, getting informed. You know that you have a community, you're having this problem in agriculture, this is happening, maybe in the aspect of research, or you're working on the project, or yes, you have a community you can also lean on rather than just doing your thing on solitary level. So this is like our social impact program. We have various courses at Precision Field Academy, from licensing to drone training, for crop phyto mapping masterclass based on crop health monitoring, physiologists and all. But this is our social impact program, and this is targeted at capacity building, also promoting gender inclusivity for both male and female, young females, to be able to get involved in agriculture. Also policy advocacy, when youths are informed and they have the opportunity to be at the global scale or the United Nations level, or in their country at the national capacity level, they'll be able to shape agricultural policies that will promote the adoption of digital technology and also enhance the industry of agriculture as a whole. Also promoting research and innovation. We are also still looking for talents that we could also help developing their, so rather than struggling or doing your thing, it's quite important that you can leverage on the strength of a community to be able to navigate your way. So the training mode is virtual and on-site. Virtual is what we are presently doing. After the virtual training ends on 21st of August, then we will be going into the on-site and the physical training, open field, where you have more practical approach to this technology. So the technology we focused on drone, GIS, remote sensing. I've mentioned that earlier. So alright, without wasting much of our time, let me quickly introduce our speaker for today. So today we are going to be discussing about risk assessment, human factor, and drone safety management. So it's quite important that you stick to regulations in order to prevent accident, because aviation, it's all about safety. And today we have as a guest speaker Mr. Jagongo Obara. He is a drone instructor, a certified drone instructor, and a remote pilot as well, and also an aviation consultant at the Jagongo Aviation. So let me quickly read through his profile. Jagongo Obara is the principal aviation consultant at JO Consultant, based in Kisumu County, Kenya. An aviation professional with a strong training background in both fixed-wing aircraft operations and unmanned aviation system. He is a licensed remote pilot and the co-author of the best-selling book Drone Professional 3. He brings deep expertise in operational safety, compliance, and quality assurance through Jagongo Obara Consultants, JO. Jagongo helps aviation operators set up and maintain robust safety and quality assurance program that provides operational control, quality oversight, and safety assurance, all while ensuring strict adherence to applicable Civil Aviation Authority regulations and law. So with a result-driven approach, he empowers organizations to achieve operational excellence, regulatory compliance, and the culture of safety across aviation, and the culture of safety across their aviation operation. Wow. So you are actually getting from the very best. I need to be sincere with you, because it's going to do justice to this topic, and this is his area of expertise where he delivers very well. So let me bring him on board as he gives us what. All right. Good morning, sir. Mr. Jagongo, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well, Joseph, and it's a pleasure to meet you again. How are you doing on that side of Nigeria?
All right, thank you very much for coming. So you have the floor now. You might want to share your screen or your slide so we can get started. Thank you.
All right, let me just give me a few minutes to set up my screen, and then we'll be back live. Just give me about 2 minutes. Joseph, are you able to see the screen that I'm sharing? Awesome. Thank you very much, Joseph. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for participating in this event today. Would like to thank Precision Field Academy for hosting this event in collaboration with our vision leader, Femi Adekoya, as well as our partners who have contributed a lot in making this happen. We are hosting Cohort 3.0, and it has been a very successful one from Cohort 1 and Cohort 2. And I really encourage the students all in Nigeria, as well as the ones joining us online, to participate and learn from more of these drone applications and how farmers can be best assisted in the activities that they do. So today's session is going to cover human factors, drone safety and risk assessment. But before we get into that, let me just mention that my name is Captain Clifford Obara, the Chief Consultant and the Chief Instructor at Jagongo Bara Aviation Consultancy, as Joseph had mentioned. So what we focus on mainly as a consultancy is advising companies and especially aviation companies, in this case, drone companies, as well as individuals on the matters relating to drone implementations, how they can achieve the objectives safely and how they can achieve the objectives properly. So what we mainly do, as you can see behind me, we started the consultancy in Nairobi, Kenya, and we felt that there was a gap or there was a need to expand our services across Africa-wide. So we moved on to, that was in Cohort 1. Cohort 2 was hosted in Uganda, in Entebbe. And we had a very successful application there. And right now, I'm super proud to announce that Cohort 3.0 is being hosted at the islands in Comoros, and that is where I am currently. And I would like to thank my hosts, Comoros Tours and Travel, as well as other partners who have made this happen. So just to get the ball rolling as a consultancy, and we focus mainly on training and providing individuals with the best skills that will equip them to, first of all, not only know how to fly, but also understand how the drones operate. And once those two are combined, they can now make informed decisions on how to apply these skills that they will be engaging in. So to achieve this broader perspective of drone training and how we can harmonize everything in Africa, we have partnered with the Association of Approved Training Organizations. That is the AATO, which is based in Addis Ababa, hosted by Ethiopian Airlines. And so what they do as an organization is to generally just focus on training organizations. So if Precision Field Academy is offering one training, for instance, then that training should be applicable in Kenya, for instance, so it should be applicable in here in Comoros, where I am. And vice versa, if I am offering any training in Comoros, then the same skills should also be applicable to everybody else back in Nigeria or wherever you are. So just to move on straight, let me jump into it so that we see what we will be discussing today. And first on the list is going to be human factors. We're going to discuss what these human factors is and how they affect you as a pilot. We are also going to look into the drone safety. What factors do we need to consider when we are discussing about safety issues. Thirdly, we're going to look at the risk assessment. How do we identify these risks? What is a risk in aviation and what is a hazard? We're going to look at the difference between the two and see how best to mitigate them. And then item number 4, last but not least, we are going to talk about regulatory compliance. Because as drone operators, we know that we do not operate in the vacuum or operate in the void. We are usually highly, highly regulated as aviators. So there is generally an organization or a body that dictates how we carry out our operation, what we do and what we cannot do, just to ensure that everything is happening safely. So let's get into the roles of drones in modern agriculture and just see what they are. So drones in agriculture come in mainly in high precision monitoring. You are looking at crop health. You want to figure out how many tomatoes or how many onions are growing on your farm. It is very difficult to carry out this activity if you're going to do it visually. And this is where the drones come in. They will assist you in efficiency, they will assist you in time management, and you will also be able to focus mainly on your farming and not worrying about the crops. Number 2, they also do targeted applications of inputs. So if you're using fertilizer or pesticides, for instance, then the drone will come in and precisely target the areas that you want to target and not generally spraying the farm randomly. And also efficient data collection and analysis. So as farmers, if you are sitting in your farm and you are worried about, I've grown tomatoes today, how are they going to perform in the next 3 months? The drones will enable you achieve the data that you want, and so that you can make informed decisions and predict that, all right, we are not going to achieve 100% crop production, we are going to achieve maybe 90% or 95%. And this can only be achieved by collecting data and analyzing all this data. So it's not just about flying the drone and spraying the farms and then doing all the nice things that you need. There is a lot of background data collection and data analysis that falls into place. So also real-time decision support. This information can also be shared with industry experts such as Femi Adekoya, such as myself, for instant assistance on what you need to do, or are you on the right path as far as what input you need and what further analysis you need. Also, last and not least, increase on return on investment. If you have informed decisions and you know what you are going to be getting out of the end of the day, then you can make informed decision and say, all right, we don't need a 10-ton truck to come and pick up the cargo this load. Maybe we need a smaller to 100% crop production, so we need a truck. So instead of using pickups, you can obviously use just one and get the job done. So as technology advances, so must safety practices. We know that drones enhance productivity in agriculture, but without proper safety, we might pose a risk to the people, property, and livestock. So responsible drone use protects your investment and the community at large. So what we are talking about over here is drones are getting more and more advanced, but we as pilots and we as farmers also need to keep up with that advancement in technology, so that we are not using an equipment or an aircraft that is beyond our scope of understanding or beyond our scope of comprehension. So now let's jump into these human factors and see what they are and how they affect us. So human factors in aviation, whether you are flying drones or flying commercial aircrafts, human factors remain 80% leading cause of incidences and accidents. And this is because of the factor of human error. The aircraft might be autonomous, it might be smart, it might be able to do all the nice things you want, but then you'll find that as an operator or as a pilot, you are subject to cognitive overload. So maybe you are in a farm which is a bit too vast, or you're in a farm which has a variety of crops. So that overload of information might hamper your service delivery. You also find that sensory limitations. are you able to cope up with what the aircraft is doing? If the aircraft is flying at probably 20 feet above level, you are at ground level. So are you able to figure out what the aircraft is doing and translate that to your also sensory overload, so that as you're focusing on the aircraft and figuring out where it is and what it's doing, you are also putting yourself in place of where the aircraft is. So another issue also comes in as pilot error is fatigue and complacency. So fatigue and complacency might come as a result of probably me as an instructor, Jagongo. I've been flying drones for probably the past 5-10 years. So I feel that I might know everything that is needed, or I feel that I'm the best pilot around there. So I might overlook a few things. And that is where we get most accidents. Accidents don't happen because of normal issues. They happen because somebody decided to do something that probably is routine, but you might find that today it is not routine. So integrating human factors reduces your operational risks on the field. And in an essence, every pilot must use the I Am Safe checklist before and during flying. So I Am Safe is generally translated to illness, medication, stress, alcohol, fatigue, and emotion. And we are going to jump into each and every one of them into detail, just to focus on what they mean. So the I in I Am Safe relates to illness. So ask yourself as a pilot, are you physically well to operate the drone? And this matters because even a minor issue like a cold or a stomach ache can upset or affect your concentration, reflexes, or reduce your decision making. So flying requires alertness and quick responses, especially around animals, trees, and wind. So you need to be competent that you as a person, you are not suffering from any illnesses. And if you are suffering from any illnesses, you as a pilot in command have the control to either put the operation on hold or delegate that operation to an alternative pilot. So on the farm, if you're feeling feverish or you're unsteady, just like you would be spraying pesticides or harvest while sick, you shouldn't fly the drone either. Again, ask yourself, do I have body aches, dizziness, or feel off balance? If yes, postpone the flight. Remember, you are the pilot in command and you have the decision to postpone or delegate the flight to another person. An additional safety tip would probably be, you have a recurring or serious health concerns, seek medical advice from your certified aviation doctor. And the keyword here is certified aviation doctor. We are going to discuss more about aviation doctors and what they do and how they're relevant in our operations. But this is especially important for those flying commercial drones and operations who will need specific permission to do so. So now we've done with the I and I Am Safe. Now let's get into the M on the I Am Safe. So now the M translates to medication. So you as a pilot need to figure out on your own, are you under any medication that might hinder your operations? So the first question you ask yourself, do you have a valid aviation medical certificate? Now, this medical certificate is not necessary or compulsory for every drone pilot. I'm sure for you, cohort 3.0 in Nigeria right now, you might not have this medical certificate and it might not be applicable to you. So don't really worry much about it right now. This just applies to commercial activities. If you probably are flying for revenue or something like that. But if you're in your own farm and you're carrying out your own private or personal activities, it might not be necessary at this point. But that also does not negate you from seeking medical supplies or from seeking medical attention. So this goes back to what I had mentioned earlier, the approved medical doctors. When we talk about seeking medical advice, it's not about you going to your general practitioner or your local pharmacist or your local hospital and getting a certificate of fitness, there are designated medical doctors who are authorized by the Civil Aviation Authority, and their job is primarily to assess and issue medical advice to pilots. So they don't issue medical advice to the general public, for instance. Their focus is on pilots, whether you're a remote pilot, whether you're a balloon pilot or a commercial pilot, it really doesn't matter. They also have pilots in general. So this really matters because there are some certain illnesses. For instance, myself, I suffer from, I don't know if I suffer from it, but I am told that I have hypertension. It has never affected me as a pilot, but based on the advice that I got from my medical doctor, he assured me that I am safe to carry on my activities as a pilot and that it will not hinder my operations as a pilot or as an instructor. So now with that advice from the medical doctor, now I feel confident and safe, and I don't need to take any more medication to control it. What he advised is just as an instructor in general, our environment of operation is highly stressful. So that could be a trigger why I probably have hypertension once in a while, and this so probably or long trips, like I've come from Uganda right now, I've moved on to Comoros. It would probably be advisable that I take some time out, relax, recoup myself before I engage in any heavy active duties. So these are the advice that our good people at our medical doctors offer us. And remember, if you have to take any medication whatsoever, be it Panadol, it could be the smallest thing as a headache, just inform your doctor that, all right, I'm not feeling well and I have this medication. Is it okay for me to take them? And if you do take them, then he's going to advise you that, all right, do take them, but do not fly in about 2-3 hours after, or take them and fly immediately after. That is not a decision we can make as pilots, but that's a decision that our aviation doctors offer us. So now moving on to the S in the I Am Safe checklist. And remember, these are checklists that you are doing on yourself individually. The I Am Safe checklist cannot be done by somebody else, or it cannot be delegated to somebody else. These are evaluations that you as an individual have to focus on personally. So S will relate to the stress factor. Is there anything bothering you that could distract you while flying? So what that matters is stress overload reduces focus, it affects your decision making, and it increases error rates. So if you have personal issues at home, probably it would be advisable that you postpone the flight if there's anything affecting you, or figure out how you can delegate the flight, or figure out if you need to postpone the flight, calm yourself, relax, and then carry on with the flight later on. So on the farm, maybe your harvest failed, or your livestock have escaped, or there's family conflict. These are all distractions that can lead to missing critical steps, like battery checks. You might miss a critical step, like carrying out this I Am Safe checklist. And one step missed in aviation is one step closer to an incident or an accident. Remember, in aviation, we have the Swiss cheese kind of event where one error might not lead to an incident, but it is a series of errors that eventually lead to an incident at the end of the day. So again, you want to ask yourself, am I emotionally upset? Am I overwhelmed? Am I distracted by other problems? If yes, you always have the decision as a pilot in command to hold off the flying. Then the A in the I Am Safe relates to alcohol. Now, if you are a pilot, probably like myself who consumes alcohol, then you need to be aware that legally the civil aviation rules require that you maintain at least 8 to 12 hours from the last time you put the bottle down to when you hold the controls. So this is the legal limit that has been set by the aviation law, and the limit is 8 hours from the last time you have consumed And I think I am not proficient in this. Probably the medical doctors can tell us more. But I think it was as a result of how long does it take for the intoxicants or the alcohol in your system to be exhausted out. And generally, 8 hours, I think, was now the framework on how it works. So this matters because, as I said, the regulators require from bottle to throttle. Alcohol, as we know, impairs your coordination and judgment long after drinking. So it's not because you put the bottle down now, you are still okay. So on the farm, even just one beer after lunch can dull your reflexes while dodging birds, power lines, or navigating low altitude missions. Once again, you want to evaluate yourself and ask yourself, in the past 8 hours, am I fit? Am I safe? If yes, then wait. If not, then go ahead and carry on with your operations. And then in the I am safe, we move on to fatigue. F relates to fatigue. So again, question, ask yourself, am I well rested, alert enough to fly? Especially if you have been traveling long distances to access remote farms. We know that Africa is a very vast continent. Nigeria particularly is also a very vast country. Commuting probably from your headquarters where your drones are positioned or where your drones are to where the farmer might take probably even the whole day commuting. So you do not want to be jumping from your office, you're packing your gear, you're putting your drones, you're packing everything you need, and then you're traveling 8 hours to get to the farm where it is, and then you arrive on the farm 9 hours later and you want to unload and start flying. You will obviously be fatigued. So these are obviously things that you need to look into. And it might not even be just because of traveling. Perhaps you've been flying the whole day, it has been raining, or the sun has been shining, or you have been engaging with the farmers on the ground, you've been briefing your crew, you've been briefing the farmers. All this affects your fatigue at the end of the day. So you want to evaluate yourself. Am I fit to fly? Am I competent enough? Do I have enough energy? And this matters because it reduces the time, reduces awareness, increases risk mistakes. So pilot must especially be alert when flying low, near animals, or in changing wind conditions. Again, at the end of the day, in as much as fatigue is concerned, did I sleep poorly? Am I working long hours or I travel a lot today? If yes, again, reconsider flying. So you need to do this self-evaluation and figure out what are your levels of fatigue. For instance, my level of fatigue might not be the same as another gentleman or another lady's level of fatigue. I probably can handle maybe 2 hours worth of traveling. Another gentleman can handle 5 hours worth of traveling and they perform fantastically. I can only handle 2 hours and I feel fatigued and I cannot do anything on the ground. So as I said, these are evaluations you need to do internally on your own. Just evaluate, are you still okay to perform your actions as a pilot? And last and not least in the I am safe checklist is eating and emotion. So in Africa, we know that we love our food. We eat a lot, and this is something that we are used to. If you're having your yam and your cassava and your bitter leaf and your fish stew, you need to, these are norms that we're used to. In Kenya, we are used to a lot of ugali and sukuma wiki and a lot of fish where I come from in Kisumu. So if you miss one of these meals, then automatically your system feels that something is off or something is wrong. So again, you do not want to be in the field if you are not well nourished or if you're under emotional distress. So why this matters is that hunger and emotional swing can reduce your energy levels, patience and focus. So regulations include emotional readiness in human performance training. So if you feel that you're going to be on the farm and you don't have access to a meal or the nearest meal could be probably far away, then what you might need to consider is probably pack something to eat, pack lunch, or figure out at what point do you need to take a break in order to have something to bite or something to eat, just to ensure that you are well nourished. So always ask yourself, have I eaten? Am I feeling calm and emotionally balanced? If not, again, you have the control to delay the operation. So that concludes the subtopic on the I Am Safe checklist and breaking it down on what the I Am Safe means and everything that you need to consider for yourself in that checklist. So should one be missing, again, you are not fit to fly. Should two or more be missing, then obviously that is a risk issue that you might probably need to consider. So again, we are talking about human factors and risk assessment and management. The I Am Safe is a huge. So thank you, gentlemen and ladies, for your attention so far. Practical uses in the farm will include when to use I Am Safe is first and foremost at the start of your flight day. Evaluate yourself. Am I safe? After the lunch break or after a long break, also evaluate yourself. Am I still fit to fly? Maybe you've had a heavy lunch. You don't want to be flying immediately after that. Also, if weather or tasks suddenly change, then also you want to reevaluate yourself because obviously weather and tasks will affect your ability to operate. So also before any high-risk missions near livestock or water resources, probably you are flying in a vast farm which only had crops, and then you move on to a different section which is now involving water and which is involving livestock or which involves now houses. You need to reevaluate yourself and figure out if you are still fit to fly. So if working with others, ask each other these questions out loud. Build it into your pre-flight routine, just like checking your drone battery levels. You obviously want to ensure that your levels, your batteries are still not, if it's not 100%, that you still have sufficient battery to enable you carry out the flight. Also, personally, you also want to evaluate yourself. Maybe I was 100% when we started the operation. Am I still 100% 1 hour later on into the flight? Am I still fantastic 2 hours later on the flight? And probably if you're flying with a team, you might want to bounce this question off each other and just figure out with your colleague, hey, are you still okay? And ask each other, are you still feeling well? Do you need to take a break? And that is the whole concept of teamwork. All right, gentlemen and ladies, thank you very much for that section. Now let's briefly delve into our next topic for the day, which is in relation to drone safety. This is very critical, especially for us operators, whether you are a farmer, whether you are an instructor like myself, or whether you're just the project lead. Safety is super critical. So why is it super critical? Now, this is important because, first and foremost, it protects the people, the property, and the environment through proactive management. What we are looking at is to enhance the safety of the people around us, not just necessarily the drone itself, which costs a lot of money, but is this drone going to crash into a building? Is it going to crash into people? Those are all things that we need to protect. So we are protecting the whole environment around us. And number two, it also supports reliability, operational predictability, and public confidence. If one farmer hears about Clifford Obara and probably my safety record is not up to scratch, then definitely the next farmer is not going to look into me, is not even going to consider me for the agricultural work. Once again, if my colleague Femi, for instance, is a super safe operator, then it is that safety that will encourage other farmers to work with Femi Adekoya or to work with Chegongo Obara. It is not because they like Femi or they like Clifford Obara. It is because they are looking at the safety concerns and how professional that the operations are being carried out. And it's just because of that reason that we are fortunate enough to be hosting our cohort 3.0. It is not because we are the best instructors on the ground or because we're the best pilots, but because of our safety track record and that speaks a lot about the operations that you'll be carrying out as farmers at the end of the day. So item number 3, SMS safety management systems is a critical issue, especially for commercial operations. If you're flying beyond line of sight, which means you are not able to see the drone physically, it is probably at a distance away from you, and you have another observer on the other side keeping an eye on everything. Flights over people or sensitive infrastructure, and operations in controlled airspaces, especially where the operator seeks an operator certificate. So safety management systems is super critical in our operations. So strategic integration into farm operations. As an operator, and in this case, as a drone pilot or as us drone instructors, we need to come up with safety policies and safety objectives. So it's not sufficient enough just to say that, all right, we have mitigated all the risks and we've done everything that is required. So now we are safe. This safety comes in through a policy. This policy must be written and documented. In aviation, if it's not documented, it didn't happen. So your policy as a farmer or as a drone operator has to be evaluated based on the activities that you're going to be carrying out. And you need to also come up with your own individual objectives. So my objectives as a drone farmer might not be the same objectives as Femi Adekoya's objectives. And so drone operations should be embedded to broaden the farm safety and productivity plans. So synchronize it with agronomic calendars. And what that means is if you know that you're going to be farming in this season, use that information to dictate what safety policies you require and what objectives you will need. If this is the rainy season, for instance, then your safety objectives and your policy is not going to be the same as your policies on a dry day. And also data sharing with farm monitoring and tracking systems. Also, you want to align yourself with the industry norms and the industry standards. If one system is working, adopt it, learn from it, and customize it for your own personal benefit. Also, assign safety responsibilities. You will know that as the drone operator, you might be overwhelmed for certain reasons. You are focusing on the aircraft. You are monitoring critical issues. And so the safety perspective in this case might need to be delegated to a different individual. So that individual is the one who's going to be responsible for saying that, all right, weather is deteriorating, let's postpone this flight, or let's carry out certain mitigating issues. So that person is going to be responsible for ensuring that safety concerns are taken care of, obviously in collaboration with you, the pilot in command. And then also review performance quarterly. If we have been flying safely for the past 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, then we also need to reevaluate and say, okay, how many incidences have we had during these 3 months? How many near misses have we had? Or how many safety concerns have we had? So that you can also go back and say that, all right, maybe we need to review our policy, or maybe we need to change our objectives. And this review is super important or super critical, because what the issues that you were concerned with 1 month ago or 2 months ago is not going to be the same concerns that you are focusing on 2 months later or into the future. So continuous evaluation is highly critical and very important in safety management. And now, moving on to the drone rules. As I said, we do not operate in a vacuum. We have certain rules and regulations that we comply with. We do not generate these rules. These rules, if I might call it, imposed on us by the Civil Aviation Authority or the regulators wherever you are, and reinforced by our safety officers and us instructors. So first and foremost, you also want to ensure that You register your drone with your National Civil Aviation Authority. In Nigeria, it's going to be the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority. Here in Comoros, it's going to be the Comoros Civil Aviation Authority. In Kenya, where I come from, it's the KCA, or Kenya Civil Aviation Authority. So Africa-wide, there will be a regulator who will determine what rules you need to comply with. And this registration is also not mandatory or applicable to everybody. Certain regulators might have different rules or different issues to comply with. What you want to do as an operator is get a hold of the regulations in your nation or in your country and figure out, is your drone required to be registered? If so, how is it going to be implemented? If not, then what does the regulator require you to do? And also, as a commercial pilot, so we need to keep the drone within visual line of sight. So VLOS means that I always have access, or rather I always have visual contact with the drone. And this means that you do not want to be flying a drone behind a tree or behind a building where it is going to be obstructed. Not only because you're going to lose a signal or reception, but because it is mandated by law that you always must have your drone within visual line of sight. So the moment you cannot see your aircraft anymore, that is the maximum that you're going to be able to fly. And obviously, this visual line of sight is not just about your eyesight. It might also be as a result of weather. Visibility might be slightly bad today, so your distance to how you can see the drone might be hampered. If it is a nice blue skies and shiny day, then once again, your visibility might be extended. So these are things that you need to consider on a day-to-day basis, and it's not a rule of thumb that 100 meters is the distance or 2 meters is the distance. It all depends on how well your eyesight is and the visibility of the day. Now, item number 3 is very critical. Do not fly over people or over crowds. And I know most pilots, this is the one rule that they really break a lot, because, for instance, I've bought my car, for example, and I want to do a demonstration. So I find myself in a situation where I'm doing a demonstration flight, and there's a crowd of people behind me, and they are to them how the drone flies. This is not permitted. One, they are part of the project lead. Then you have obvious questions today. Business, the distance away from you as, or rather you, the drone, to the people that you're doing the demonstration for. Item number 4 is obviously you want to fly below 120 meters or 400 feet. Now, this is something that you need to cram in your head. The drone is going meters, and this 400 feet is a general rule of thumb. It is set by all regulators, whether you're flying in Nigeria, whether you're flying in Comoros, whether you're flying in the UK, 400 feet is the limit. This does not mean that because your drone might be able to push it to 10,000 feet, but legally, you need to be aware that this is not allowed. 400 is our maximum, and 400 feet has been, 400 feet has been set because manned aviation, or what we can call fixed wing pilots, their minimum is 500 feet. And for us remote pilots, our maximum is 400 feet. So it leaves that 100 feet gap just in case the manned people descend below or in case we inadvertently go above. So that safety margin is why they've set our maximum at 400 feet. Again, last and not least, this is very critical. You need to stay away from important infrastructure. So such as airports. Do not fly near airports under any circumstance. Do not fly near airfields. Also, you do not want to fly near a military barracks or, say, for instance, the State House or Parliament or critical infrastructure like that. So always be aware of the restricted areas around you and the government buildings, for instance. You need to be aware of what you can fly near and what you cannot fly near. Sometimes with prior approval, you might be able to perform these operations within their vicinity. But again, that has to be done with prior approval. So get approval for commercial use beyond visual line of sight flights or night operations. We are generally allowed without any approval to fly during the day. We are allowed to fly without any approval within visual line of sight. But when situations change and we need to fly a vast farm with spraying hectares, then we need to now reconsider and say, okay, now I'm going to be flying beyond, or rather my drone is going to be beyond. What approvals do I need to ensure that I can carry out with this activity? Or we cannot fly during the day for whatever reason. Now we need to move our flights from day to night. Also, you need to inform the Civil Aviation Authority and tell them that, all right, we had planned to fly during the day, but now issues have changed. We are moving our flights to night operations. Those are certain issues that might require, or that do require, alternative approval. Again, during the I Am Safe checklist, these are part of the drone rules. Do not fly under the influence of alcohol or drugs. Again, they will affect your ability to operate. Respect the privacy laws. Do not record or photograph people without their consent. So if your drone, for instance, is equipped with a camera and probably you are capturing the aerial images of the farm that you're going to be spraying, and you want to tell the farmer that, all right, we're going to be covering this sector today, and then we're going to be covering this sector tomorrow, and then that sector the next day or the next week. If a certain sector has a private building or a private house that is within it, then either you need to get consent from that individual or the owner of the property, or figure out how you're going to capture your images so that you do not have any images of his property or his farm without his knowledge. So these privacy laws are applicable, and should you capture any individual or any property inadvertently by mistake, then the best thing to do is delete that section and only give the analysis of the area that did not capture the other inadvertent people. So once again, you also want to report any drone-related accidents or near misses to your nearest civil aviation authority. So for instance, if by bad luck, my drone ran out of battery and it came down and broke a propeller, for instance, or I did not, or some helicopter was flying overhead and it just flew past the drone, then these are all incidences that probably did not lead to an accident or did not lead to a crash, but these are information that the Civil Aviation Authority will want to be informed about, not so that they can punish somebody, but so that they can also learn and advise other people. Probably you're in a state where pilots or other officials have access to helicopters. So they might also need that information so that they can inform the helicopter pilots that, all right, if you're flying in a certain state, be aware that there are drone operations that are taking place in this farm, and also just to avoid any misunderstandings. So what I'd really like to emphasize to students or pilots in general do not be afraid to report these incidences or anything to the Civil Aviation Authority. They are not there to punish people, as I said, but they are there to learn from us, because we are the ones who are in the field, we are the ones who are carrying out the operations, we are the ones who are flying. So if we do not give them this information, they cannot do magic and figure out that, all right, Cliff is going to be safe if he does ABCD. I need to tell him that, all right, I need provision, probably 1 to 3 things to be put in place so that I can fly safely. So it's a collaborative effort between pilots and the CAA. So the information is really critical to them, and it's also really critical to the safety of operations. Now, last and not least, you also want to get your training through approved organizations or through advanced commercial operations. So what we are doing today with the Precision Field Academy is just that. We do not want to be issuing, or rather we don't want you students to be buying the drone, for instance, and then going onto YouTube and Googling how to operate the drone and YouTubing how to operate it and YouTubing this and that. That might get the job done. It might be able to allow you fly safely, but you also need to be aware that as far as the regulations are concerned, or as far as the global drone rules are concerned, if you have not gone through an approved training organization, then whatever you know probably didn't happen. As I said, in aviation, if it's not documented, it did not happen. So this is why, as a consultancy, we are also partnering with, as I mentioned earlier in my introduction, with the Association of African Approved Training Organizations. So what we do as the AATO is just to harmonize all the training standards. As I mentioned, if you have undergone training in Precision Field Academy, you are very welcome to come to Comoros, carry out your flights, and we will recognize the same training that you have done. So there'll be no need to do a conversion. There'll be no need to do another training again. And this is the benefit of the association, and this is what we're trying to push as Africans, so that we have one standard for everybody. And this is also going to help reduce the cost of carrying out your activities. So we are now, I'd like to thank you for your continued attention, and I know there's a lot of information happening, and I might be giving a lot of details. Once again, these slides are going to be available to you at the end of the presentation. Or if you feel that there's a certain section that probably might need more emphasis, you can kindly reach out to us, and we'll see how best to advise or assist you. Okay, so let's jump into risk assessment and what it's all about. So, agricultural risks. As I said, how do we identify these risks and what are they? So we know that agricultural drones do not fly very high in the sky. We normally fly at 10 feet, 20 feet, and this is so that the spray can effectively get onto the crops that we are worried about. Also that the image that we're capturing about the crops can be in high detail or high resolution. So the risks involved in agricultural drones, number one is we're flying low altitude. So low altitude in this case is a hazard. It might not be an issue, but we need to bear in mind that it is a hazard that needs to be looked into or considered. And we're also flying near low terrain. We're also flying near humans, and in a farm, we might also be flying close to livestock. So these are all hazards that need to be considered. And remember, one hazard has a potential to lead to a risk. And a risk has a potential to lead to an incident or an accident. So the hazard in this case is low altitude, low terrain, human beings, and livestock. So how do we avoid all this? One probably might be keep the drone away from the livestock and keep the humans away from the area of operations. So if we are going to be spraying this area, you probably want to tell the farmers to move, as I said, 50 feet away from your area of operation. This is how you mitigate or reduce your level of risk. Now, item number 2, as well as high voltage lines and wind variability. So in any rural farm, we know that there might be power grids or telephone cables or fiber optic cables, whatever it is. We also need to consider them. One, the high voltage lines probably could affect the operations of the aircraft. It might disable certain functions. It might cause your drone to malfunction, for instance. So these are all things that you need to be aware about. And this is because of the high magnetic field that these high voltage lines produce. So keep your drone at a distance from them. Do not fly under them. Do not fly above them. Try and avoid them as much as possible. And if not, you will need to carry out mitigating actors or factors. And also wind variability. Wind also affects how the crop will be sprayed, or how the image are going to be captured, or how the drone is going to operate. So we do know that our drones have a certain wind limitation. So this wind limitation is based upon the manufacturer. And this goes back to, do you understand how your drone operates? So if my drone, for instance, has a maximum wind speed of 20 knots, your drone might obviously, or might have either a lower 5 knots or less, or it could even be higher. So you might be able to fly at higher winds than I am able to. So these are all risks, or rather hazards, that might lead to risk. And then item number 3 is risk of spray drift and chemical exposure. We do know that the fertilizers that we do use are highly toxic and chemicals. So we do not want to expose non-involved people, including ourselves, to these chemicals. So as a rule of
Excuse
thumb,
me,
we
sir.
know that we are spraying toxic chemicals onto the farm. We want this application to go directly to the crops that we're spraying and not onto ourselves. So probably a mitigating factor would be to wear hazmat suits, and this could be gloves, it could be goggles, it could be the whole suit and everything, so that just in case you get exposure to spray drift, you're not affected in one way or another. Now that is for you, the pilot. There's a gentleman, sorry, let me just pause for an instant. Joseph, are you able to see the slides? Because there's a gentleman who's not visualizing them.
Yes, it's not changing. Your slide is not changing. It's still showing global drone rules.
It's still showing?
Global drone rules. Global drone rules. And I think what you're saying now, you have passed that stage. Also.
Okay, this is the global drone rules. And I've just scrolled up to the risk assessment. Has it changed?
No, 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 no. It hasn't. It's still showing global drone rules. I don't know. Maybe I would advise you reshare your screen if it's not working. Maybe you just reshare that particular slide again. Okay.
All right, all right. Just stand by, gentlemen. 2 minutes. Let me just recalibrate. I'll be back online in 2 minutes.
So you'll be joining us very soon. Just stay tuned and wait while you join us. Thank you.
Joseph, do you see my slides? Confirm you have visual?
Like you're showing another slide because this slide is not moving. What's wrong?
Okay, just keep on going. It should be the next slide down. Okay, we are at risk assessment. Is everybody okay now?
Yeah, it's fine now. It's fine. Yes, you can go ahead, sir.
Awesome. Okay, so we were at the risk of spray drift and chemical exposure. So what we were discussing is the chemicals that are being sprayed are obviously highly toxic, and we do not want to expose ourselves as pilots or expose the community to these chemicals. We want these chemicals to be sprayed directly onto the crops that we are monitoring. So again, as a mitigation against this, one aspect would be probably to wear gloves and hazmat suits with the goggles and everything, so that should inadvertently these chemicals appear on you as a pilot, you are safe and you could just remove the hazmat and carry on with your operation. And also, we might need to figure out what the wind direction is blowing at, so that we do not fly in a certain direction where the wind is going to blow the chemicals towards people's residences or towards other farmers who are carrying on with other activities. Now, another risk is regulatory non-compliance. Agricultural risks could be probably you're in a farm and this farm is in the middle of a major highway and the farm extends onto the other side. These are also things that you do not want to be doing or need to factor in. So if you're going to move from one farm onto the next farm, do not cross a major highway just because you want to save time and get to the other side. Land the drone, safely transport it onto the other section, and then resume your flights. That is how you mitigate against these agricultural risks. All right, so risk assessment framework. Now, this assessment framework is something that happens continuously. It is something that you might take consideration to now, but you might also be aware that it will change in the next minute, it could change in the next 1 hour, it could change in the next day. So starting from the top, you want to look into your terrain, hazard identification. Is the terrain suitable for the kind of operations that you want to do? Is the weather allowing you to do the kind of operations that you want to do on the farm? And the crew conditions, are your crew safe and all right? So that is all part of identifying any hazard that might interfere. And as I said, hazard will lead to a risk will lead to an incident. And then you want to move on to the risk analysis. So you've identified the hazards. Hazard could be probably the trees or bad weather. Now determine a likelihood and evaluate the consequences. So if we are flying in a highly terraneous issue, probably there's trees involved, and then there's because we know instances like tea farms in Kenya. Tea farms usually have rows of indigenous trees. I don't know why they do this, but probably it could be to prevent wind blowing the tea bushes away. So also figure out the likelihood of your drone crashing into these trees. Is it highly likely? Is it unlikely? Is it probable? Is it not probable? And what are the severities of it? Should we probably crash into a tree, then we might damage the propellers or the drone, for instance. And if probably crew conditions, if our crew are not safe or fit to fly on that day, again, you also want to evaluate that risk. What is the likelihood and the consequences of your crew not being fit to fly for the day? Probably they might get fatigued and only fly 30 minutes instead of the programmed 3 hours. And so you need to figure out the consequences of that. That is going to be time lost to the farmer. That is going to be an additional expense to you, the operator, and it's going to lead to inefficiencies in the operations that you're doing. And then you want to move down, and just imagine this is moving clockwise. So we are going from hazard identification to risk analysis, and now we're at risk control. So we have identified the risks, and we've determined that the likelihood of our drone crashing into a tree is highly unlikely. We have activated our, our sensory activators, which will stop before hitting any obstacle. Yeah, they're called obstacle avoidance. And we are also visually monitoring the aircraft. So the likelihood of that happening is unlikely. So should it be in a likely or in a risky environment, then we want to incorporate some risk controls. So how do we mitigate against it? How do we avoid it? How do we reduce it? If we can isolate it, the better. And how do we monitor so that everything is at an acceptable level? Remember, risks cannot be eliminated 100%. But what we can do and what we strive to do is to reduce those risks to an acceptable level. If we are comfortable with two crew and we are both fatigued, and so we say, all right, one gentleman is going to fly 1 hour, the other gentleman is going to fly the next hour, then we have reduced that risk to an acceptable level where one person will rest as the other one flies, the other one will take a rest as the other one flies, so that not two pilots are flying or doing operations simultaneously. That is how we reduce risks to an acceptable level. As I said, we cannot eliminate risks totally, but the only thing we can do is try and minimize them. And finally is risk evaluation. So we have delegated who's going to fly first, who's going to fly second, and how we're going to alternate. Now we need to monitor this effectiveness. Is this strategy that we have put in place working? Is it a strategy that is making sense? Are our obstacle avoidance sensors working? Are they avoiding the trees at the distance that we have set? Now, these are all things that as much as you have evaluated and controlled everything, you just don't stop and rest at that. It is a continuous evaluation where now we go back again to weather. Has the weather changed? That is a new hazard. Or has another crew come in? Or has the terrain changed? And then we go over and over and over and over. So this is a cycle that does not stop until the end of your flight operations. And now, once we have done that, now we need to figure out what are our go or no go. And these are the decisions that you make before you fly. So first, you want to go if you are safe to fly. You have evaluated yourself. You know you're healthy, you're rested, you're focused. Great. Secondly, your drone is airworthy, the batteries are full, your software is updated, the field that you're going to be flying in is inspected, and there are no issues. All right, then go ahead and carry on with your flight. 2, 3, the weather is clear, there's no wind, there's no rain, or if there's any rain or wind, it is acceptable to the drone, it is acceptable to you as a farmer as well. Probably I can fly with an umbrella. Some drones are able of accepting some certain level of moisture in them, so that can also be. Just don't stop the operation just because there's some small moisture. Some certain drones are capable of ingesting certain limited amounts. Also figure out what is the IP rating of your drone, which is the ingress protection rating. How much dust can it inhale? How much moisture can it inhale? These are usually published, and I'm going to send a separate slide on IP ratings so that you can evaluate. They're usually 2 figures or 2 digits that will tell you on the scale of what it can and what it cannot do. Also, airspace is legal, so there's no crowds, there's no livestock, or if there's livestock, there's been restricted, and you're not in a restriction zone. Then go ahead and perform your operation. Risk assessment is done. So we've looked at the terrain, we've looked at the obstacles, we have looked at the hazards, there are no birds flying overhead, everything has been done, and this is a continuous exercise. Once again, go ahead and fly. Do you have any permits or approvals? Has the farm operator or the farm manager given you go ahead to fly in his farm? Obviously, you don't want to fly based on verbal approvals or on phone calls and say, all right, farmer X has told me to go and spray his farm. No, these usually have to be written and they have to be consented for. And do you need any approvals from the CAA? If so, do you have that approval in writing and can you present it when needed? If so, again, go ahead and carry on your flight. Certain scenarios which might be a no-go might be if, once again, you're tired, you're not feeling well, or you're emotionally distracted. Cancel the flight, postpone it, or delegate it to another individual. Also, if your drone has faults or missing components, do not take the risk. Don't take the risk just because your drone can fly and you have firmware that needs updating, you might want to postpone, get everything, all the firmware updated, and then carry on. So if there's anything missing or the drone has faults, feel free to advise the farm manager that, yes, when we left the field, or rather when we left the office, everything was updated, but now that we've arrived, we have noticed that there are some firmware updates that need to be done. You have that privilege as the pilot in command to reschedule that flight until everything is fit to fly. Also, if weather is unsafe or changing rapidly, don't cross your fingers and hope that things get well. No, it doesn't happen like that in aviation. You land, reevaluate. If it is fantastically well, then go ahead. So if there's livestock, people, or flights near you, that is a no-go. Do not fly overhead livestock. You're going to affect them. You're going to affect their well-being. You're going to interfere with the people, and you're going to interfere with the flights. So that is also another issue where you should not fly. Last and not least, if you're feeling rushed, unsafe, or under pressure. Now, we know that probably we've traveled a long distance and the boss or the farm manager is giving you pressure and he wants his crop sprayed today, and he's saying, all right, Clifford, you promised me that your drone is efficient and it can do ABCD, why are you not flying? These are all scenarios where do not get into that pressure that, all right, I need to fulfill this because if I don't do it, there are going to be X consequences. You would rather live with those consequences rather than live with the consequences of flying in an unsafe mission. So again, a safety tip, go or no-go decision shows responsibility, not failure. So if you fail to fly for any reason, you are being a responsible pilot and it is not a failure on your part as a pilot. So postpone if in doubt. This is the risk matrix that is used generally This applies to all scenarios, whether you are a farmer, whether you're a photographer, whatever operations you're doing, this matrix is going to come into place. And it is usually color-coded between red, I'm going to call it amber, and green. So on the first column, you have the probability. So we were looking at, for instance, probability and severity. So for instance, we have trees or in our line of sight. So what is the probability of us crashing into these trees, or of the drone crashing into these trees? 5 is the highest, which is frequent or probable. And then 4, occasional, remote, improbable, extremely improbable. So in this case, if we have our drone in line of sight, and we have our obstacle sensors all active and active, then the likelihood or the probability of our drone smashing into a tree could be level 2, which is improbable. And now we also need to figure out what are the severity, what are the consequences of should it smash into the tree. So again, this is also rated between A, B, C, D, and E. A being the most highest, catastrophic. B is hazardous, major, minor, and negligible. So in this case, for instance, our drone crashing into a tree, should anything happen, it would probably be a minor defect, or because we might probably lose propeller, we might, something that can be repairable. So we do not go at a complete loss, but we have incurred some consequences that are undesirable. So you put those two together, when you check on the minor and then you drop down to level 2, which is improbable, you get to a level 2D risk factor. And in this case, anything that is in the green is acceptable. So 2D, we have the trees, we have the consequences, but we are in the green, and that is, as I said, an acceptable level of risk. Should anything fall onto the red side, that is a no-go. Anything in the amber will require additional mitigating factors. For instance, we have birds in the sky, and they're flying overhead, and we cannot control them. And they look like they are also interested in the drone that is flying, and they're flying in and out randomly. And somehow our risk matrix lies on the yellow or on the amber side. Another factor that we might probably need to employ in this case is probably delegate somebody to monitor the birds or scare them away, or do something or alert the pilot in command if they're becoming too risky, so that we can stop or halt the operations. So anything in the red, do not fly. Anything in the amber or yellow, employ additional mitigating factors. Anything in the green, you're good to go. So that is how this metric works. Once again, I know this might be a bit too much information for you to understand right now or to digest, and that is why we encourage continuous consultation or continuous questions. Should you feel that you have a certain issue or a certain real case scenario and you want to employ this risk matrix, kindly feel free to reach out, and we can see how your particular hazard or the risk can be incorporated into this matrix and how to effectively use it into your day-to-day operations. Now, moving on to the regulatory compliance bit, this, as I said, involves Civil Aviation Authority. They are the ones who regulate airspace, they regulate how we fly, they regulate what we can fly, registration, and everything aviation related. So drone regulations, in this case, in Nigeria where we are, drone operations are regulated under the Nigeria Civil Aviation Regulations, also called the ARPAS regulations, which is part 21 of 2023 edition. You might want to look into their website, or if you have access to their physical office, you might want to pay them a visit just so that you can get more understanding on does your drone need to be registered? And if so, how do you go about it? If you are a commercial pilot, those same regulations will advise you on how you can get licensed. If I'm an instructor, how do I move from becoming a normal pilot to becoming an instructor, or how do I become from an instructor to a different level, or I want to fly at night? All those things are going to be found in that document. Also, issues of safety documentation. Do you need to maintain logbooks, and how do you maintain these logbooks? What details do you need to put in the logbooks? Is it the flight time? Is it the duration? Is it what you operated? So the details on how you fill in the logbook are going to be also dictated in these regulations as well. And these are obviously going to be they're going to form part of your safety documentation. So the need for risk assessments. Every flight will need its own risk assessment, which will be accompanied by the logbooks of the flight of the day. And this will detail where you flew, how many hours you flew, who flew it, which drone did you fly, and all those other information. So other states or bylaws, now this also, as much as we comply with the Civil Aviation Authority, which is the mother body, you might be in a different state that has its own bylaws or its own regulations. So one state, the main regulator can say, all right, do 1, 2, 3, but a certain state might say, okay, maybe because we have too much helicopter activity in our area, you need to employ an additional issue or additional measures. So always consult the local states just to find out what are the bylaws that you need to comply with, if any. If not, then just fall back on the default civil aviation rules. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, asanteni sana for your time. And as I said, for any more information on the slides or general advice, maybe just have a random question, please feel free to reach out to me or the rest of my team on that email. Contact me personally on that WhatsApp. And as I said, we are affiliated with the Association of Approved Training Organizations. We are trying to encourage as many training providers in Africa to come together under one umbrella body so that we are all offering the same standards of training, so that if I'm here in Comoros, the training that I offer is good enough in Nigeria. If FEMI is offering training in Nigeria, it's as good enough as it is done in Kenya or anywhere else. And with that, I thank you so much for your time. And Femi, thank you also for your time. And Joseph, thank you for hosting me.
Wow, sincerely, this is a very powerful section. Captain Clifford, you really did justice to the topic. You really did justice to the topic. So thank you so much for coming. This is a very powerful session where you analyzed the mitigation factors, human factors, and what are the causes and how can this be prevented in order to prevent aviation accident. You also mentioned the fact that it starts from hazard. From hazard, it's migrated to risk. From risk to incident or accident. And I think this is a very profound class for anybody who is looking into even beyond drone technology operation, even for the commercial aviation. So we have a whole lot of questions here for you from a participant. I think they are very attentive in class and they're also following along the line. So giving questions that, okay. When the heroes value sweet, okay. Eventually, I'm bringing them up soon. Okay, this is a question for you, sir. He said, "Good day, sir. How can we accurately quantify the probability of different events occurring during a drone flight?"
Salisu, thank you very much for that question. The direct answer is no. You cannot accurately quantify the probability of different risks occurring. As I said, risks vary from area to area, and they also vary from time to time. So if you have mitigated a risk right now, remember that cycle goes clockwise. You have to continue reevaluating just to make sure that whatever mitigations you had put in place are still applicable. So it is something that you have to do continuously as you carry on your operations. You cannot accurately say that, all right, I've checked the weather app and tomorrow it's going to be raining and it's going to be a risky flight. You might appear in the field tomorrow and there's not a single drop of rain and it's clear blue skies. So it's not something that you can determine. It's not cast in stone. It has to be continuous monitoring.
Okay, thank you very much. We have another question here from Chidema. What happens when a drone loses signal or control, especially in areas with people? How can drone manufacturers and operators mitigate this risk and ensure safe recovery emergency shutdown?
Chidinma, Roslyn, thank you. That is also another interesting scenario. Now, usually what happens, or rather what you need to factor in mind before you start your operations is you need to put these parameters in place. Remember I mentioned that these drones are becoming smarter and smarter, and we also need to become smarter and smarter as the drones evolve. So usually when a drone loses signal or control, it does not happen that it's going to immediately fall out of the sky. Generally, drones are equipped to either do three things. It can either hover wherever it is and stay standstill until it receives signal again, or you can program the drone to safely land, or you can program the drone to return to where you are. So those are generally the three scenarios that you can tell the drone to do in case it loses signal. So as manufacturers, they have incorporated these fail-safe systems into the drone. And as operators, it is for us now to go ahead and tell the drone exactly what scenario we want. If we are flying in a fast farm and we feel that we might lose signal at some point for whatever reason, then it probably might be safe to land the drone until we can come closer and reassess. Because sometimes the field might be too vast and it doesn't make sense for the drone to fly back. But if you are in a vicinity where you are flying in a short area, then you might want to program the drone or tell the drone to fly back to where you are and land. Because generally hovering might also be an option. But remember, when you're hovering, stand still waiting for a signal to come back, you are also chewing into your battery life and your power. So that is also another scenario that you do not want to get involved in. So generally, as operators, to mitigate the risk of signal loss, you generally might want to land the drone wherever it is, probably get closer or reassess what happened and figure out why did we lose signal. Perhaps it's bad weather and GPS signal got lost, or perhaps it's a faulty system. So again, manufacturers have incorporated these fail-safes into their drones. It is up to us operators to figure out what fail-safe we want to make use of.
Thank you very much. Another question here is, if you mistakenly unintentionally record a crime while flying, is this still considered illegal, or are you allowed to share it freely with the right authorities?
Yes, if you mistakenly or unintentionally record a crime, then remember, you are falling into the privacy laws, and what you might think is a crime probably could be people acting, or it could be a show, or it could be. So it is not for us to determine that it is a crime. What you will want to do is not share the information, but what you might need to do is contact the authorities and tell them that I've spotted something that looks illegal or looks criminal. Kindly, can you appear in this venue, or rather in this locality, and figure out what is happening over there. So you will be giving them information verbally, but not sharing that actual act or that actual incident, because then now you'll be violating the same privacy laws. So yes, report it, but do not record it.
Okay, thank you. So, Scarlett Michael said the safe checklist, does it only involve the pilots or all aviation officers like the control tower officers, bag and security or officers on the runway?
Fantastic. Yes, in aviation, we do not restrict checklists or safety to pilots only. These checklists apply to everybody involved. Remember, in any operation, there's going to be the pilot who's flying the drone, there's going to be the ground operators, there's going to be the safety officers, there's going to be a vast variety of different individuals performing different roles. Now, if the safety officer, for instance, or the security officer is not complying with the I Am Safe checklist, then clearly the same consequences will be applicable as to the pilot not complying with the I Am Safe checklist. So it will cut across all personnel involved in aviation industry, and it's not restricted to only the pilots only. So yes, if you are in an airport and you are carrying out aviation activities, yes, it does apply to you as well.
Salisu asked again, what are the necessary skill, knowledge, and experience for a drone pilot to operate safely in different scenarios?
Salisu, thank you again for that other question also. The necessary skills is one, get the correct training, which you are currently doing right now with the Precision Field Academy. So I can assure you that you are achieving the skills that and the knowledge that you need. Now, as far as experience is concerned, now this is where the logbook comes in. The more you fly, the more experience that you get. And this more flying and more hours is what will build not only your experience as a pilot, but also your confidence as a pilot. And so now that will encourage you to have an informed decision and say, okay, I have flown in certain scenarios before. I have an idea of what to expect. Or I've never flown in this kind of scenario before. I need to be more alert and more tentative. Or I might need to, I've never flown agricultural before. For instance, myself, I've never done agricultural work before. So I probably might need to consult somebody like Femi Adekoya and ask him, all right, I've been asked to do drone operations in this particular field. What is the best scenarios to employ? How best do I go about this operation? Can you probably tag along with me, or can you be on phone in case I have any challenges? So you will not be able to be confident in all scenarios, but you need to be aware of what you are confident in and what you're capable of. And this will be dictated by what you have previously done before. So the skills and the knowledge, you've acquired it right now. At the end of this cohort, you will get the skills and the knowledge you need. Experience will come from how frequent you fly. And the scenarios will obviously change. No scenarios will be the same. One scenario today will be a totally different scenario tomorrow, as much as you could be flying in the same farm.
Thank you very much. I have a question here anyways. So Bo-san is asking that what is the best advice you can give to someone who feels they have a lot of work to do and believes they are working against the time? The question is important because many Nigerians think this way. We have been like,
yes, this is not. It's not limited to Nigerians. I think all Africans think the same way. And this goes back to, remember when I was talking about do not fly if you feel that you're under pressure, do not fly if you feel that you're being pushed or you're being rushed. If you feel that you have done your maximum, and probably for me as an instructor, I have done this cohort, and there's another student who comes in and they want another session as well. It is up to you, and this is very critical. You are the pilot in command. So if you feel that you are overworked or you're overstressed or you've reached your limit, again, it goes back to the I Am Safe checklist. If you have reached the limit on whatever capacity, then it is you have the responsibility to say, okay, this operation is going to stop now, we're going to continue tomorrow, or I am going to delegate this operation to somebody else. And remember, you cannot be penalized for being safe. This is an act of responsibility, not an act of cowardice or feeling that I need to meet my targets, I need to meet my goals. Fly safe first, your goals will always be met, your targets will always be met, and nobody is going to penalize you for postponing or delaying to meet those targets. So as far as safety is concerned, you are the pilot in command. You have the right of say if you have reached your limit. And again, this is an African thing. We want to rush things and so that we can move on to the next project and move on and so forth. But it's well and done. Just do things in a rush if you have other personnel or you have assistants to do so. But do not rush it if you're alone or if you are getting overwhelmed, because then now you're not going to be safe. And if you're not safe, an incident will happen.
Esther Oluseyi asked that, but most of agricultural drone operators I see don't wear this safety suit. Is it that they have mastered a way to avoid these chemical splashes totally?
Yes. It is, once again, as I said, it is a rule that most people break. I said another common rule that operators break is also flying overhead people, flying overhead crowds and things like that. Also, very basic things like taking a small drone and flying it into a church for a wedding or a mosque for a wedding or something like that. These are all rules that we probably are not aware of because we've not gone through this kind of training. But now that, Ms. Esther, that you've had that it is a requirement, you might need to be probably the first person to wear the safety suits and say, okay, I could be flying this agricultural drone, but for my safety, for the sake of my safety as a pilot, I just want to take safety precautions in case the wind blows in a different direction that I did not see, or in case you're putting in these fertilizers and mixing them, you do not want to be inhaling these fumes. So yes, it is a common rule that most people avoid, most generally just to save cost, because nobody wants to incur an extra cost in buying the hazmat suits. But if you want to be safe, then it could probably be a cost that you want to factor in. Just the same way you don't want to be walking from your office to where the field is and carrying a drone on your back, you might want to invest in a bike or a vehicle, just so that you reduce the fatigue element.
Okay, thank you, sir. Scarlett Michael has, if a recreational flyer uses their drone to help out during an accident, like finding people trapped in burning houses, does the footage belong to the authorities or should be deleted? Okay, well, just want to know.
Yes, great. Yes, you're a recreational pilot, and again, this is you have been asked or you have been tasked to go and assist. So it does not fall under the privacy rules. Remember, I said as long as you have consent from the manager or whoever is concerned, that consent is what you need to go ahead and carry out with the activities that you need. So if you have been asked or you've been tasked by any individual or the authorities, then automatically that footage then can be. It does not belong to the authorities particularly, but it belongs to the person who had tasked you to carry out those activities. You might want to notify the authorities as well, but the footage belongs to whoever asked you to carry out those. If it is authorities, then well and good, share it with them. If it is an individual, then well and good, share it with them, and it's going to be up to them now to see what to do with the footage. But it's not up to you as a pilot to decide what to do with the footage.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So Sarsu is asking again, what are the steps for post-incident recovery, including investing the cost, implementing corrective actions, and communications with stakeholders?
Fantastic. I had mentioned that the safety policies and objectives that you need to put into place. So that policy that you put in place is what will determine how an investigation should be done and what corrective actions, who to communicate with, and which stakeholders. So you'll probably have what we call an emergency response plan. So that response plan will dictate that, all right, if we have an incident, then let's notify the local authorities, let's notify the farm manager, let's notify the safety manager or the project lead, and in what steps and who to call and at what time. So there's a document, as I said, that document has to be published and it has to be written based on your scenarios. And obviously this is going to be in consultation with the civil aviation regulations. Those regulations will dictate that in case of an incident, follow steps 1, 2, 3. So those steps 1, 2, 3 are just going to be the basics. It is up to you now to add on your own personal details. So it's up to you as an individual. There is no, what can I say? There's no documented policy on how to react. It is for you as a team or as an individual to figure out what are the different issues or incidences that might come up. If it is a bird strike on your drone, then you need to come up with a policy for that. If a bird strikes, then this is the actions that we'll do. If a certain incident happens, these are the actions that we'll do. So based on where you're operating and the nature of the operations, these actions and corrective actions and who to communicate with is going to vary. So not all incidences might involve the authorities, not all incidences might involve communicating. It's just how you feel that in a certain in a certain scenario, you feel that you need to do 1, 2, 3 steps. So it's for you to come up with that document.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much for answering that. So Bossam also asking again, if I am flying in a safe, no approval zone, but an obstacle forces me into restricted airspace, or I accidentally record people, will there be a punishment?
No, there will be no punishment. Remember, I told you these regulations or these incidences are not to punish you, but just to be aware. So if accidentally you do record people, then obviously at the end of the day or post-production, you will notice that there are some people in the background or there are some people in this footage that are not involved. So yes, you might have recorded them accidentally, but you will notice it in the post-production, and it is at that stage that you will either delete that certain section or inform these people that, sorry, I accidentally recorded you. Is it okay if I maintain the footage or not? If they're okay with it, then well and good, proceed. If not, then you might want to delete it or before you proceed to publish the footage. And also, if you accidentally fly in a restricted airspace, then the safest thing is just to go and say, hey, sorry, my drone jammed or my controls went haywire or the wind blew me off course. It was unintentional, and it usually will end at that. There usually have been no incidences of punishment for accidents or incidences.
Okay, sir, I just want to show this. This is not a question anyways, it's just an heads up. So from a participant, he said a very precise, detailed and well-arranged presentation. The slides arrangement is superb, very vocal and also able to communicate and carry everyone along. We are really glad to have you here, sir. So I think your presentation really resonates with them. I have a lot of good
Thank you very much.
Okay, so we have a question here. Has there been any situation where drones control panel stop working mid-air? Like maybe your controller or the drone flight controller or things stop working mid-air?
Yes, it does happen, especially for those drones that operate on either the tablet or on the phone where you have to connect a cable. Personally, I've experienced it and I've seen it happen numerous times. Yes, sometimes a cable could go loose or a connection could go loose and you lose sight of the control panel. But that does not stop you from manually manipulating the aircraft with the controls only. And this is where you need to have a visual line of sight so that in case of any incident where you cannot focus on the screen, you at least know where the drone is and how to manipulate it, either to land or to bring it back to you safely. What drones have done these days is incorporate the LCD screens on the controller itself so that you don't have that malfunction. But yes, should it happen, you again are the pilot in command and you should be able to manually fly the aircraft without necessarily focusing on the screen, because the screen is just giving you additional information and nothing that should stop you from manipulating the drone safely.
Much. I have a very interesting question here. This person has Ibrahim Abubakar. He said, when conducting a drone assessment, how do you prioritize between technical risks, for example, battery failure, and environmental risks, sudden wind changes?
Yes, Ibrahim, thank you so much for that. When conducting the drone assessment, you do not prioritize between priority. They are all prioritized. So the risks of failure will be evaluated on its own. Environmental risks of wind change will be evaluated on its own. And all those will be tabulated in one document in the risk assessment. So the risk assessment will involve human factors. The people around you, winds, change of weather, everything that you feel might be a risk to your operation. So there is no priority in risk assessment. They all have the same level of priority. So evaluate all of them with the same priority as you would evaluate anything else, whether it is wind or technical issues. They're all evaluated. You might want to break it down on the technical risks and then list down the same environmental risks and break it down to all of them, but there is no priority. They all have the same level of priority.
He is also still asking what tools or templates are recommended for documenting a drone risk assessment in compliance with Aviation Authority's requirement.
Great. The tools or templates, these can either be found one in the civil aviation regulations, but what I'm going to do for you, Ibrahim, is I'll send you a template with the different metrics, the different factors that you need to consider, and with other additional information that you need to put in. And I think that will help you. On how it is supposed to be structured and how it's supposed to be documented. And then at least we can have a one-on-one with you, and we can see how best to understand and template. But it should cut across all lines. So yes, if you can share with me your details before, I'll email you or after this.
Same issue, right? Give my back.
Because he's saying that the other people will still watch.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. Another question here is showing. Okay. What's wrong? Sorry, I apologize, everyone. My network kicked me out, so we are wrapping up already. So this is all this was. I don't really understand. Okay, please. What's the average time for a drone spray on hectares of All right. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for your time. So we finally come to the end of this masterclass or this presentation. So thank you so much for joining, and I believe you've learned uh, uh, one or two yourself as a drone pilot. Uh, uh, and adherence to safety crucial for any drone operation. The end goal of both commercial aviation, recreational aviation, manned and unmanned aviation is to promote safety, ensure All right, thank you so much, Mr. Obara. I sincerely appreciate your presence, and I'm getting greetings from our vision lead and the entire Precision Field Academy team. We sincerely appreciate your presence, sir. Thank, thank you very much. I think.
All right, thank you so much, Precision Field Academy, also for accommodating me for the third time. Looking forward to cohort 4.0, and looking forward to the other sessions that are going to be
All
taking
right,
place.
bye everyone.
All right, thank you so much, Precision Field Academy, also for accommodating me for the third time. Looking forward to cohort 4.0. And looking forward to the other sessions that are going to be taking place.
All right, sir. Thank you very much, sir. We sincerely appreciate your presence. Do have a good day, sir. Bye. Question.